Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Respected Honorary Director General Mr. Will Haskell, and the special guest for the today's program, Mr. Lamba ji, and the guest speaker for the today's program, Dr. Singh Lamba ji, and all the Central Council and Executive Council members of ADCOC, fellow regulators both from the center and state, friends from the industry and the academia. Warm welcome you all to the another interesting round of webinar on Indian pharma industry, the journey of industry yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We are pleased to have with us the renowned industry leader, Dr. Singh Lamba, and the regulator, Mr. Lamba ji, Joint Director FDA in Mizoram, with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be aware that All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation Academy was established with an intent to educate all the regulators and also the industry colleagues and academia on the latest development happening in the industry. And as we all know, the pharma industry has literally grown from zero during the Independence Day to a level of global leader in the entire world. And it's been recognized by the global leaders, not just during the pandemic, but even in the earlier period of AIDS, as HIV/AIDS scourge by USA President Bill Clinton, and a film is also featured on the Indian pharmaceutical drugs, especially the anti-cancer affordable medicines by a Chinese filmmaker, A Dying to Survive. So the industry strength has been recognized across the world at all the times, and it's more and more evolving during the pandemic, and there is a lot way ahead for the industry in new more areas. With that brief intro, let me welcome our guest of honor today, Mr. Lamba ji, Joint Director FDA and Controlling and Licensing Authority, Mizoram, for his opening remarks.
Good morning, dear colleagues. My dear friend Ravi Uday Bhaskar ji, and today's main speaker, Dr. Singh Lamba ji, and Lakshmi Prasanna ji, and all my colleagues in the Indian Drug Regulatory Fraternity. Today, I'm very fortunate to be one of the special guests. Though I was thinking that this is too big for me, but when I tried to refuse, Lakshmi asked me to accept it, and I think and I know that there is the reason behind, and the Director General of ADCOC was pressing her heart to make me present today. Before I start some of my experience as a drug regulator, let me share with you the first day I met Ravi Uday Bhaskar. It was way back in 2002, in the month of November, maybe 8th or 9th November. It was in Agartala, where we have Northeastern Drug Control Officers meeting at Agartala. From there onwards, I know his activities, and we are continuously sharing our thoughts and views, and it is really very nice to hear that our dream, the dream of ADCOC of having training academy was materialized now. So because of that, we can have this wonderful webinar today. And yes, as we all know, India has become a major player in manufacturing and exporting of generic drugs and other drugs. And we say that we are the third largest producer of medicine in the world by volume, and maybe ranked 10th or 11th in value. So it is very much a proud moment for Indian drug regulator to uh, uh, be in the drug regulatory system. And because of the conducive policy of government of India, uh, many industries has come up uh, from importing countries to now producing countries and exporting countries. So that much growth is, we have noticed that much of growth today. So we have exported mm, more than 200 countries in the world, and because of uh, our product, the quality of the medicine and affordability of the medicine was a big question, and we have a large pool of technical men, technical people, engineers, and we have also have a plant, a good plant, manufacturing industry, which is producing medicine. And we know that uh, India is the largest uh, uh, country that having US FDA approved manufacturing premises. So it is a very proud moment for us. And during this COVID-19 pandemic, the greatness of India in pharma production is increased, because at the onset of the pandemic last year, everybody was looking for hydroxychloroquine. And even the president of USA, Donald Trump, was saying, "Thank you, India," because we supplied hydroxychloroquine at that time. Though it may not have many relevance nowadays, but at that time it was a much short about medicine, as the world do not have any treatment of COVID-19. So we are the producer and the uh, healer of the world at that time. So because of that, uh, we are, India is famous for that. And now with the latest development and technological growth, um, many advanced countries are going for these biologics and biosimilars. Now, even our Indian industries are also coming up with that in that direction. Moreover, our technology, the greatness of Indian pharma industry is noticed in the production of vaccine. We can produce even COVID-19 vaccine. We have Covaxin and this what is that? I just forgot. Cadila Jaidas is about to produce, and like that, we are supplying mostly 60 to 70% of WHO requirement of vaccine is produced from India, and we are exporting to almost all the countries. That is because of the conducive policy of government of India, we have to thank for that. And presently, government of India has come up with a scheme of strengthening of drug regulatory system. since 2017. And because of that, even a small state like Mizoram, we are getting that fund, that centrally sponsored scheme, and then we can improve our testing facilities. Can improve our manpower, and we can improve our office. So this is the very important move made by the government of India. And I think in the days to come, we will become not only we will become the number one in the production of pharmaceutical, and we can remain the pharmacy of the world. So I think I'll not take much of the time, because next to me is an expert speaking on this pharma industry yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Right now, Mizoram is still in yesterday, not today. We are in yesterday mode. So I would like to know some more from Dr. Sanjit Singh Lamba. So I'll conclude my speech here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lal Samaji, for sharing your experiences and associations with ADCOG. And we really look forward to see Mizoram as a state of a hub for pharma industry in the near future. And it's in the government objective also to encourage the industry in the northeastern region. And today, with the continuous guidance from industry stalwarts like Dr. Sanjit Singh Lamba, we certainly going to have a large scope of the presence in the northeastern state as well. So with that, I'll invite the guest speaker today, Dr. Sanjit Singh Lamba, a renowned industry leader and technocrat for almost all the industry professionals among here. And to be brief, Dr. Lamba is a doctorate in pharmaceutical sciences, and he is an achievement-driven professional with outstanding leadership in pharma industry. To be precise, he is a technocrat with a proven record of 32 years of experience in achieving the business growth objectives, right from the strategic planning, business operations, manufacturing and operations, process excellence, and people management, and so on and so forth. He has been associated with several industry associations such as Indian Pharma Alliance and ISPE. And for his tremendous contribution to the industry, Dr. Lamba has awarded thrice in the list of one of the 100 of most inspiring people in the life sciences industry by Pharma Voice USA. He also served as a past chair for the India chapter of Parental Drug Association, and also a past chair for the Technical and Supply Chain Committee of OPPI, and the judging member of ISPT, FOIA, and USA. Currently, Dr. Lamba is associated with Valence Pharma, and he is the Chief Executive Officer at Valence Labs, an integrative API company. And we all know Dr. Lamba as the former Managing Director for Isai Pharmaceutical India, with which he has the long association, and he has been associated right from the inception of the factory. We are privileged to have you with us, sir, and we welcome you for the today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Lakshmiji. And then first of all, it's really my privilege to be invited here today by the great the Drug Control Officers Association Confederation, and led earlier by Mr. Uday Bhaskar, and then a person whom I have a great respect for my first meeting in 2007 till today. I'm privileged to be associated with him in one way or another. It's a great learning whenever we meet, and I think today it's an honor that I'm here presenting before you all the ADCOG members across the country. And I think I have a great salute to all of you, because you are really managing a mammoth job of Indian pharmaceutical industry, which is growing leaps and bounds across the country and also, across the world. And it's a really very complicated job. I must say, we are in the industry, we are handling one particular area. You are handling a very large horizon of activities, which are not only technical, but administrative and many other things in scope. So today, I'm thankful to Lakshmi ji that I was invited by Adcock Academy for this talk today. I remember when I started my career in 1989, I was given reference of 1930 and 1970 as the milestone in the Indian pharmaceutical industry, with the 1930 first the Bengal chemicals getting ready in India, and then till I think 1970, our presence as a pharmaceutical industry across the globe was not even spoken about. Nobody knew about what India is doing before 1970. I think that's the time frame that we started looking ahead, and then we created history. So I'm just sharing with you a small presentation, which I would like to present before you approximately for 35-40 minutes. In case you have any questions, we can always discuss that at the end of the program. So I'm just sharing my screen for the same. I hope you're able to see this.
Yes.
So thank you very much. So we'll talk about the Indian economy and the healthcare, and also some industry facts about how the Indian pharmaceutical industry has progressed. We're looking at the export markets, and then just a brief about the strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats analysis for this industry, where we are today. And we'll also talk about what has happened during the last 20 years. So starting from 2000 to 2020, and also what our aspirations for 2030 and beyond. What does the future outlook look like? And if you see from our ambition point of view, where we want to reach, which are the areas we want to strengthen ourselves in the years ahead. So if you really look at our Indian economy is set to reach around $5 trillion by 2025, which is not far, with a GDP growth of around 7.8%. Now, if you look at the situation today in the industry, what has changed in the last few years, and it is still growing ahead, is the increasing affordability of the products in India, including the pharmaceutical products. Improving the medical infrastructure, whether it is in the tier 2 cities or in the rural areas, the healthcare access for our products in the market, right from the rural areas, and the overall health expenditure. If you really look at affordability point of view, the income per capita income is set to rise 125% from $1,700 per annum to $3,650, which is approximately double. And overall, if you really look at, there is a middle class which is increasing by 40 million, and affluent class is improving by 25 million respectively by 2025. The healthcare expenses are set to increase from 9% to 13% within the next decade, starting from 2020 to 2030. And I would say that the healthcare insurance part, which is very minimal today, would cross approximately 4% this year and would set to grow incremental over the years in the next decade to come. If you really look at the infrastructure is increasing, it's improving in different parts of India, whether it is metro or tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities. And overall, the important thing to note here is, despite so much progress, the access to medicine by the poor people or the rural areas is still pegged at 45%. That means people at the bottom of the pyramid are still not able to afford healthcare expenses, approximately 50%. Overall, if you really look at, India has only 0.9 beds per 1,000 individuals, which is very low, 0.7 physicians per 1,000 patients, which is very low. There was a talk that the national health policy, it aims to have 100% universal health coverage by 2022. I think the progress is going on, but it is a little slow. I think it may not be 22, but it may take some more time looking at the situation today and also the impact of COVID now. Our expenses from the healthcare point of view of GDP, if you look at the government is spending, still remains at 1.3%, is very low as compared to even the developing economies across the world. And 75% of the patients, they spend this money on the healthcare expenditures out of the pocket, and only 25% get the benefit from the government as far as the expenses are concerned. Let's look at the industry where we are. You know, the pharmaceutical industry today in India is set to grow to $100 billion by end of 2025. And the latest surveys indicate we would be around $130 billion by 2030, which is the next 10 years. Our exports from India in 2019-20 is around 16.3 billion. Just to give you so we are around 50% as far as the Indian domestic market is concerned, and also as far as the exports are concerned. Approximately 50%, whatever we produce is exported out of the country, and the rest is for the India market. A very interesting fact is the Indian biotechnology industry, which was only US $64 billion in 2019, is expected to reach 150 billion by 2025. In the next 5 years or 4 years, this is a great jump, and the industry is progressing much faster than what we anticipated. Because if you really know that in the next 10 years or so, the future of the pharmaceutical industry globally is biopharmaceuticals, is biologicals, is large molecules, more monoclonal antibodies than the traditional chemistry-based products. So this industry has attracted approximately 16.8 billion of investment from 2000 to 2020. That means in the last 20 years, we have received so much of investment in this sector from different countries. If you really look at in 2017, a lot of mergers and acquisition deals were done in India, approximately $1.5 billion in the pharmaceutical sector. And this sector is growing at a compound annual growth rate of around 11% in India market and 16% in exports in the last 20 years, that is starting from 2000. This industry also ranks third in the world in terms of the volume and 14th in terms of value, which will of course now change the kind of investment which is done for vaccines in different parts of India, and a number of companies are gearing up for that. Just to give you a kind of a ballpark picture, India's cost of production is nearly 30% lower than that of a US labor cost, and around 50 to 55% cheaper than the Western countries. The cost of setting up plant in India is around 40% lower. And I have experienced this in the last few years when we were comparing the cost of manufacturing in India versus Japan versus US and versus Europe. And of course, we are very proud that we have a very large skilled workforce in the managerial and technical competence as compared to our peers in Asian countries. India has the second largest number of US FDA approved facilities outside the US. So if you see, approximately now 2,700 products are approved by US FDA, and around more than 700 FDA approved plants are there in India, which talks about the high technology, the level of compliance, and the progress the Indian pharmaceutical industry has made over the last many years. Our exports, as I said, were approximately 16 billion in 16-17, and it will grow to around 20 billion by this year. So which is also a great thing. But in the year 2021, we have been impacted due to COVID crisis. But I think this should be, also a reason for us to think about our strategy, how we can grow further by using this opportunity of serving the patients across the world by providing high quality vaccines to the patients in the global market. So overall, if you see, in 2021, approximately we are around 55 billion. I remember around 10 years back, we had kept a target of 50 billion by 2020. We have surpassed that target by 10%, which is a great, I would say, achievement. And thereby, if you see from the market size point of view, we are the 6th largest pharmaceutical market globally. Now, as far as the market is concerned, we are 70–80%, we are a generic in nature, and around 20% of global generic medicine requirement is supplied from India. We are the largest provider of generic medicines globally. And also we hope that we will continue to be a leader in the coming years. There are few other areas, I think, which are growing. Sometimes we don't give, attention to these areas, but just for your information, the over-the-counter medicines, for which we have now a policy in place, approximately 21% of the market is over-the-counter medicines, and which includes nutraceuticals, which is the largest growing segment in the country today, and patented drugs, approximately 9–10% of the total market revenues of 20 billion domestic market. Now, this market, this year, if we end, we would expect to reach around 28 billion in this year, which is a very large growth from the last year. And if you look at this, offers a lot of opportunities for Indian companies, and that is the reason that apart from the classical pharmaceutical industry, a lot of progress is being made in the biopharmaceutical area with biosimilars, complex generics and things, and we'll talk about that. And if you look at the generic market in India, as we said, 20 billion is approximately 28 billion is the domestic market. The rest market out of 55 billion is export market, which is a great number, and we are set to progress to a greater number in future. Last year, our global exports reached around 21 billion with 8.4% size. And if you see from the last year, which was 19.1 billion, which is a 6.2% growth rate between 2015 and 2020. But this is set to increase now, looking at the kind of opportunities we are having. As we were talking about, and this picture is every day changing. We are talking about vaccines, which is a focus area these days. Today, we are exporting to more than 150 countries about our vaccines, which is approximately 40–70% of the World Health Organization demand for diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, and BCG vaccine, and also 90% of the demand for measles vaccine. As we know, we are exporting to more than 200 countries in the world, with the US as the key market. Largest market is US, which is 40% approximately, followed by around 20% to Europe, 20% to Africa, and around 20% to Asian countries, which is a very good spread as in today from the risk point of view. Our global formulation trade is approximately 650 billion, which is, if you look at the India's share of exports, is today only 2.5%. But I believe this would be a great motivation and put a lot of potential for future for organizations to increase their export worthiness to these countries. Now, having seen where we are today, and let's look at what is our strength areas. So if you look at, we know that we have a strong manufacturing base, whether it is APIs or whether it is formulations. We have skilled people both in pharmacy as well as in chemistry, the two major qualifications required to be in this industry. We are cost effective in manufacturing as compared to the global markets. We have yet to catch up as far as the API manufacturing as compared to China is concerned. But I think we are making a lot of progress in this area. We have availability of high quality skilled workforce that has been proven in the last 20 years, where the progress which is made is based on the people, and the progress is not based only the facilities and infrastructure. What we achieve is because of our people. So we have a fantastic marketing and a distribution network in the country with a strong supply chain across the various distribution channels across the country. And we have people with a strong knowledge of chemistry and pharmacy. And this industry is now more than 50 years of experience, which is good. And we are now looking at how we can become from good to great. We are good today, but we want to become great. And that's the kind of a strength which will help us. If we look at some of the weaknesses today, we have a low investments in the innovative R&D, because I think we are making a lot of progress and innovation as far as the generic industry is concerned. But if you look at the innovative research and development, which requires very huge investment, probably that is one of the reasons that this investment is low in the innovation side, because we need a lot of support as far as industry is concerned. Now, the ability to compete with the multinational companies for the new drug discovery research is I would say low as compared to worldwide, based on because of the lack of resources which we have. And there are a lot of financial support mechanisms in different countries, including China, which is today what we are looking for to grow to the next level. If you see the Indian pharmaceutical industry, which is approximately 8,000 industries, means that only about 20 to 30 companies are large enough to bear the transactions which are required for sustained exports and compliance to developed markets of US and Europe. So this is probably the reason that shows that we have capability, we have expertise, we have a qualification, we have experience, but we need more resources. So if you want to really be big into those markets and need more companies to be in those markets, we need resources. We also need a strong linkage between industry and academia. I'm talking about this from last 20 years, from 2000 to 2020, about this collaboration which is required between academia and industry. Unfortunately, this remains low as in today. It is growing, but still a very small speed as compared to what is happening in other countries. We also have some issues of fake and low quality medicine in some corners of the country, though this volume is less, but we need, as we are custodians of the quality and image of our pharmaceutical industry, we must make sure that we eradicate these fake and low quality medicines from the supply chain and make our supply chains more robust as compared to what it is today. If you look at opportunities, we have large export potential. As I said, more and more companies are looking at growing this exports to the developed markets, especially US, Europe, and Japan, but we need more resources. We need marketing tie-ups with more multinational companies to sell their products in domestic market. That means we look at alliances. We are looking at in-licensing products from the multinational companies. My main objective of mentioning it here is to make sure that we have a product which is approved in the world for rare diseases, for product for which we don't have a cure available today. That medicine must be made available to the patients, because ultimately we exist because of the patients. If you're not able to serve the patients, if you're not able to make sure that the products which are new are available to the needy patients, then I think our job is not done. So we have an opportunity, we have a potential, we have our responsibility to make sure to make available these products to the domestic patients. If you really look at from the clinical trials point of view, there's a lot of scope, there's a lot of opportunity looking at the new clinical trial policies and the rules. I think what we lost in few years, we are regaining it back now. And we want to achieve a position of a preferred destination for clinical trials. We are a key player in the contract research and manufacturing services business, and a lot of multinational companies are partnering with the Indian companies with the kind of a trust which has grown over the last many years. Now, we have a lot of potential for, as I said, for the developed markets, not only the developing markets, but developed markets, and I especially mention here markets like Japan, for which our presence is less than 1% today. There's a huge potential which is being captured by China, which is being captured by Korea, US, and Europe. But being a pharmacy to the world also means that we must look at the challenging market of Japan, that we make our presence felt there, we make our availability of APIs and finished products into these markets, and we can do that. I think a large opportunity for us is the biotech market, including the biosimilars, including the vaccines and vaccines of all kinds. I'm very happy when I was listening that Zydus Cadila is the first company in the world to come out with basically a DNA-based vaccine for the first time, and which is being approved for the children. And I think there's a lot of things which are going to happen in this particular segment in future. There are a few threats looking at, we know we are highly reliant and dependent on China. Of course, we are making progress to increase our presence, to look at how we can improve our position as the API supplier to the world. But I think here also, we need large support from the government, from institutions, to make sure that we have a large financial support to make large volumes of business, which China is doing, because there is an economy of scale. That's the reason we are approximately 20 to 25% more expensive than what China is, because of course, the cost of capital and the cost of other resources, which are low in China. But not only that, there is also a large incentive which is given to the Chinese companies. Also, if you really look at, we need to look at the tariff protection. You need to lower this tariff protection, which has increased competition in the domestic market, resulting in the erosion of profitability. And I think one of the major areas is the price control, which we have on the industry. And that is sometimes, actually, I've seen many products going out of the market, especially the novel drug delivery systems, and also some plain vanilla pharmaceutical, classic pharmaceutical products, because it was unviable to make a quality product at that kind of a price, because we have sometimes unrealistic ceilings on the product prices. And also, I think if you see from Indian pharmaceutical industry, there are still some areas where we need to tighten our compliances as far as the quality is concerned, as far as the regulatory compliance is concerned. So compliance, whether it is domestic, whether it is the Food and Drug Administration India, or global, or Schedule M, or WHO, a compliance is a compliance, and we should not make double standards or triple standards, that there's something compliance for India market and something different for those markets. Of course, I understand very clearly that there is a price to pay for that, but the future belongs to those companies who would run a single and simple compliance system. That means one compliance system for all, if you want to be sustainable in this market forever. If you see the global pharmaceutical market, which is growing by around 5 to 8%, and it will reach this year a level of $1.2 trillion US, which is very large. And if you see out of that, US is the largest, 320 to 330 billion in this market, and 150 billion worth of the products are getting expired between 2016 and 2022, and they will face generic competition, including competition from Indian pharmaceutical companies across the globe. We have a large opportunity in the far emerging countries, which is basically pharmaceutical emerging countries. These are 17 countries, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and many others. And they would be growing much faster than the global market by around 13 to 16% over the next 5 years. Just to give you an indication that things are going to change. In 2012, for the first time, the top selling drug in the world was a biological product called Humira, which is basically used for immunotherapies. And it was a large product. Today, we have a product which is available in India as a biosimilar of Humira. And this trend may continue, especially when you see 2020, we have a number of products in the global pharmaceutical list, which are top 10 in number, and 80% of these products are biologicals. That gives us an indication that the future of the industry is biologicals, the biotechnology. We need to give a lot of importance to this area and grow and make sure that the skill and the talent grows in this region over a period of time. We all know it takes around 10 to 15 years to develop a medicine or a vaccine. But this record has been broken by the Indian pharmaceutical industry by bringing within 1 year a vaccine for the global market and the masses, which is absolutely, I would say, an example, a benchmark in the global market. The research-based industry currently spends around $100 billion on research and development. And if you see in the last approximately 10 years or so, 900 approximately medicines were there in the pipeline, including cancer, diabetes, and also a number of rare diseases. In 2009 and also 2019, if I see, 25 new pharmaceuticals were launched. This is an indication that it is becoming more and more difficult for products to be brought to the market. From 3,000 compounds in development, only 25 pharmaceuticals reach the market. And if you see the biological entities, they also, if you see in the last 10 years, there were 151 products. And earlier decade, there were 211 products in the pipeline. That means it also is becoming difficult. Overall, it's very important to know that it costs an average approximately $2 billion. That's around 14,000 crores to develop a single new chemical entity and bring it to the market. This has increased from 1.8 billion 2 years back to 2 billion in 2020-21. So if you see the overall leading R&D firms in the world, out of 10 leading global R&D firms, 5 are pharmaceutical. That shows the health of the pharmaceutical industry across the globe, and that also is an indication about what we are going to do in the market. If you look at the challenges today, we have a declining R&D productivity because leading to transformation and bringing a lot of innovative business models. We thought that this R&D productivity should increase, but actually it is decreasing. The pharmaceutical pipelines are drying out because the number of products are getting small and smaller. We are introducing new technologies, new targets, and the data. And we are using a lot of new techniques like artificial intelligence and data analytics and machine learning, which is ML, in the last few years. Overall, in-house developments, they are becoming more expensive and slow because the competition is increasing. And if you see overall on the other side, the biotech industry is more creative and delivering more products which are cheaper and faster, but they are not with a higher success guarantee because it's a very complex as compared to a typical API process or a formulation process. API is much more challenging if you're looking at the biotech route. So if you're looking at a change in bringing innovation, we need to do a lot of new things and what we are not doing today. Let's look at, we'll come to those, what we need to do as far as R&D is concerned or manufacturing is concerned, but we'll also look at what we need to do more in this area. If you really look at our aspirations, as I said, we are going to be $130 billion as far as the next decade is concerned. This data is from AOCD, IQVIA, and Pharmaceutical team analysis, and this is, also indicating that the increased growth is in the large underpenetrated markets is required, such as Japan and China. For the first time, I've heard in the past few days that there are companies who have started exporting to China, which was never the case, though it is difficult. But there are examples in India market also, and I think this is set to increase in the next few years. Overall, around 250 billion opportunities there from 2018 to 2024. And this is basically an opportunity for number of generic players in the Indian pharmaceutical industry. If you look at the future considerations and outlook, what we are looking at is accelerating this research and innovation. That's what I said today. It is low in India, and that's what we need to increase. We'll see what we need to do for that. We need to create more sustainable healthcare. We need to improve our manufacturing and supply base in both the domestic and the global market. And last but not the least is improving access to medicine. As I said, the access to medicine by people in the bottom of the pyramid, especially people who cannot afford high-priced medicines, and that number is approximately 50%, which is a large number. So what we need to do if we want to increase innovation, we need to make also some changes in the regulatory body and the central body to streamline research infrastructure and financing from all the government bodies, what is happening across in different parts of the world, whether it's Singapore, it is China, or in the European countries. We need to look at new models for financing research and development and make sure we have funds available for the long-term projects and the high-risk projects, which are difficult as on today. And that is the reason the real innovation for bringing a new chemical entity in India is very, very low as on today. We need to improve the industry academia collaboration so that we can achieve a strong innovation and also to leverage our technology for improving productivity and efficiency in research. A lot of work is being done in IT, especially the artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is typically helping the supply chain, but artificial intelligence is helping the industry across in many, many areas. So as we are talking about, we need to improve the universal health care access. We need to bring that universal health coverage 100% at least till 2025, if not 2022. The government has already a plan in place. We need to really look at how this can be executed to make sure that, just like many other developing economies also, India can proudly say in future that we have a universal healthcare coverage, and that is 100% and not a low level which is there today. So we need to bring a lot of teleconsulting and focus on preventive healthcare. Teleconsulting anyway, I think this was an opportunity during COVID times. It is increasing, and probably in future you will see a lot of things happening in the virtual world. More teleconsulting would happen more and more in future, because I think we have learned in the COVID times how to deal with this situation. One of the very important areas, how do we strengthen manufacturing and supply chain? We need to develop capabilities in complex APIs, in APIs where we have to compete with China to enable that we are able to manufacture complex generics and also biosimilars, and also bring gene and cell therapies in place so that we can compete with the world. The ease of doing business is very important, and this is increasing, of course, but then it needs to increase further, and we need to set up world-class manufacturing facilities more and more to not only for our patients, but also to attract the companies from outside India to come and do business with us. And we need to really work to attract the best talent in India and also bring back the people who have gone abroad because of a brain drain and help India reach that, that mission which we have seen for 2030 of becoming a self-reliant and a universal health coverage country. We also need to bring and set up pharmaceutical machine manufacturing facilities in India, which is there. But right now, I would say if you really want to bring a world-class facility in India, we tend to import a lot of machinery from US, Europe, even Korea, even Taiwan. Indian pharmaceutical machinery is available, but it has to really catch up with the kind of a quality and automation and the kind of the finishes which are found in those countries. We need to really look at how government can help in lowering the fixed costs and savings in the forex, and also reduction in time to set up these facilities. We also want that on one side, we are talking about Made in India initiative, and Make in India is a big banner that should become synonymous with high quality products so that our image in the global industry is further strengthened and should not go down. The next wave in future, in the next 10 years, I think would come from markets like Japan, China, Africa, Indonesia, and Latin America. For example, if you just see the Japanese market, which is worth $85 billion in 2018, with less than 1% share from the India market, but I see a great potential. It is difficult, it is challenging. It is more difficult than the US FDA, not in the regulations, but from the product quality point of view, the stringent customer requirements point of view, but the regulations are approachable. The regulations are, we are able to comply with it as far as the Japan is concerned, but much more than any other country, their product quality requirements are much more stringent than even US and Europe. I think we need to strengthen the API manufacturing. We need to bring more clusters as far as these pharmaceutical parks are concerned. In different parts of India, the government is promoting and giving approval for API cluster parks and also in general pharmaceutical cluster parks. But I think as I was inquiring in the few of the cluster parks in India, we still need common facilities, utilities like a solvent recovery, distillation plants, power and the steam units, effluent treatment plants, or big warehousing systems so that the whole industry need not spend money on these areas. We need to spend money on our own manufacturing, research, and quality, and not on these secondary areas which can be done in a common way, which I have seen much more in the special economic zones, including Visakhapatnam and also in general non-SEZs also, whether it is Hyderabad or whether it is Gujarat area, but we need to do more and more in India about these areas. We need to really lower the cost of borrowing the money for bringing the API hubs. Otherwise, we'll not be able to compete with a giant China, which is dumping the products into India, and our reliance is still very high. Approximately 30 to 40% of our APIs come from China, which is a very large number. So when you look at Ambition India, we were $4.2 billion in 2000. 20 years back, last year we were 42 billion approximately. So you see 10 times we have grown in the last 10 years. Of course, from the COVID point of view, we have a setback as far as growth is concerned, but I think this will be achieved. As I was saying, we will be around $130 billion, which is a large. Now, this is the picture from 2000 to 2020. You see the gray area, which is a domestic market, the yellow one, which is export, and the overall market. If you see from where we have gone from $4 billion to $42 billion, the growth rate is increasing. There are definitely number of areas where sometimes the slowdown has happened because of certain issues, including the national pharma pricing policy in 2012, and also price has eroded in the US market in different times. And also it has given a big boost in 2005, which was driven by generic market and the growth in the contract research and the manufacturing areas. So I see more and more happening in this area, and you will see the growth would be much faster in the time 2020 to 2030 is concerned. So when we look at the road ahead, we are still ranking 14th in terms of value. We need to really jump this. We need to really work to make sure that we increase in the value, whether it is biotechnology, whether it's a formulations, whether it's a high complex generics, whether it is biosimilars or monoclonal antibodies, and the ecosystem should support us in these areas. The global biosimilar market, just to touch upon, in India, if you see the biosimilar market was 576 million in 2019, which grew over 2018. Now, if you really look at, this is one area where a lot of progress will be seen in future. If you see even today's situation, we have approximately 93 biosimilars which are approved, and around 50 are available in the market in 2019, as compared to only 26 in the US and 61 in the Europe. So we are taking the lead in this area. Of course, there's a catching up which is done by the Europe, but we need to really work at a high pace so that we can bring biosimilars, we can bring expensive products to be made at a cheaper way in India to come out with a biosimilar, so that we can really serve those deserving patients who are really suffering from some diseases where we don't have a cure as in today, including rare diseases. If you see the situation of IP scores, intellectual property, we are today, if you see the blue area, our score is compared to the top 10 economies, which is 38 as compared to 90, which we have seen as a blue, which we need to improve upon. That means we need to improve on filing patents, on filing copyrights, trademarks, design rights, trade secrets, more enforcement, more efficiencies, and membership of international treaties, so that we are there with the word, and then we are respected more because of our intellectual property as compared to other markets. I will not go into each area, but then just because of the time, I'm saying that from the research and innovation enablers, what we need to do is basically we need to also streamline our regulatory process. We need to have one central agency which would have larger powers for controlling many areas as far as approvals are concerned, for not only the drugs, but for the medical devices, for OTCs, for many other areas. And we need to bring more simplification. We need to bring more technical experts in the review and more collaborative approach. We need to improve the talent availability and also research and the funding from the government, and need to do more on the startups, especially the youngsters are bringing new knowledge, new ideas, which we need to inculcate more and more. Of course, these cannot be done without the government incentives or tax rebates. So we look forward that somebody is listening in this area, and we need to really look at how government can support us with the incentives and tax rebates, and also bring more collaboration with academia and researchers. From the manufacturing point of view, rapid expansion in API facilities, bring more infrastructure that caters to the world, not only in classical pharma, but in the biotech, in vaccines, in biosimilars and medical devices. And I have seen good examples in India as far as the medical device is concerned. If you see the Vizag park for medical devices, a lot of another examples are coming out, and I see a lot of progress will happen. We need to work more and more on automation and digitization using the Internet of Things, machine learning and artificial intelligence, and bringing more automated storage and retrieval system in the warehouses, because that's what is a need for future. We would need a lot of storage and warehousing capacities in India in future, and also bring more process excellence in improving the productivity, in arresting the leakages in the utilities, in manufacturing losses in general. But most important thing I would say is, how do we improve quality and compliance so that we create so much of pull from the other countries that they are bound to get the products from us. We don't have those issues of non-compliance of GMP, which are there in some pockets. But I would say a lot of change, a lot of progress has been made in industry. I see less number of issues coming as far as the GMP compliance in India is concerned. And a lot of thanks, I would say, goes to all of you, because you are the custodians, you are monitoring, you are controlling the regulations, you are controlling the compliance to good manufacturing practices and things like that. I think we need to do more and more on quality and compliance with more stricter norms for manufacturing practice and adherence to standards. And also from the finance point of view, inclusion of more tax incentives and more focus between the pharma companies and the engineering and the pharma colleges to involve industrial tools and things like that, because I think still it is lacking. We see the new talent when they come to industries is not industry ready. So on the left-hand side, I say that the future belongs to the patient centricity and agility. That's very important. And this is one of my last slides here. On the left-hand side, you see things which we are doing today in the industry. We have already started artificial intelligence. We are doing predictive, preventive maintenance, demand planning, quality control management through automated systems. We are using a lot of prescriptive analytics and execution. We are using more track and trace systems, improving the workforce efficiency and safety. Through some systems, we are able to monitor our assets in real time. We are using cloud-based platforms for storing our data, using a lot of enterprise resource planning systems, ERP systems, and a lot of integrated manufacturing and supply chain networks, which are basically ERP systems. And many of industries are using cloud-based systems today. We have online pharmacies, direct-to-consumer delivery of medicines, which is basically creating more access to for the medicines to be consumed by the general public. And on the other side, what we need in future is more augmented reality and virtual reality. We want to improve workforce efficiency, enhance more training efficiency of our people. We want to use more blockchain technology for track and trace technologies, for verifying the drug quality, for helping in the label management system, and also a chain of custody for individualized therapies. What you will see more and more in future is personalized therapies, gene therapies, for which the work has already started. The products are already available in these areas, but as in today, it is very expensive, including the 3D printing. You will see more and more products would be manufactured using a 3D printing technology in future. And if you see robotic process automation, which is RPA, you will use more robotics. I started using robotics in the year, if I remember, was 2005, when I started installing the robotic lines for manufacturing sterile products, both APIs and formulation in central part of India. But these robotic processes are still in the nascent stages. Not many companies are using this, but I hope that in future, you will see more and more automation happening in these areas. More manufacturing facilities will start using fully automatic technologies, at least in processing of sterile products, because today there is a lot of manual intervention still in larger part of the industry, which needs to reduce so that our contamination levels go much lower than what they are today. And also, as we are talking, there are a number of products available on automated decisions and execution for people. If you have a problem, you need not discuss it for months together. You have the solutions available if you put across your problems, and you have softwares which are available to give you an automated decision, at least a suggestion to the people to look at the decision making. So overall, if you really look at the future, would belong to what patient needs. So we need to look at what patient demands. The patient demands also will increase in future. Today, the patient is not very demanding in India as compared to what we see in US or Japan. Japan is most, Japan is one area where the patient is very, very demanding. But in India today, the patient is not demanding. But future, you will see more and more because of a lot of learning, lot of knowledge, a lot of youngsters coming. A lot of patients will demand more and more new technologies. They will demand high quality. They will demand more new, different types of products. And we need to be more agile, more flexible to adapt ourselves to these requirements. So if you see the more new business models, we are looking at more therapeutic solutions for, we are not looking at only medicines, we are looking at therapeutic solutions. That means diagnosis, treatment, not only with medicine, but treatment with many integrated solutions areas, using technology, using the medicine, using surgery, using artificial intelligence networks. And also there will be more personalized medicine, which would, because if you see the rare diseases, the number of patients are very, very low. In case of rare diseases, the companies need to bring the solutions to the patient in a more personalized way, rather than a mass solution which is brought today. And you will see more potential novel preventive strategies for products. Already we have started moving on diabetes and cardiovascular areas. A lot of preventive strategies are being worked by companies, but you will see more and more happening in future. We will have more affordable products, including vaccines in future, and also vaccines not only for these areas like coronavirus and other vaccines which we use, for example, rubella virus or measles or any other areas, or polio, but we will use vaccines for also cancer. We will use vaccines also for immunotherapies. We will use vaccines also for tuberculosis, which is actually the need, because the future is more biotech and more vaccines are coming in this area, which are right now in the clinical stages for even diseases like tuberculosis, for cancers. Already there are vaccine-based cancer medicines which are available in India today. You will see more and more happening in future. This is my last slide. You will see the emerging trends in India. You will see more shifts in the market demands and response. For example, we are moving away from a traditional pharmacy to an e-pharmacy mode. We cannot stop this revolution. Even if we want, we cannot stop this, because this is a need of an hour. This is need by the patients. So the patients will demand more and more to happen. We need to make sure how we can support the patients in this area, how the regulations can be strengthened more and more in this area. There'll be more focus on quality and a CGMP compliance in this next 10 years, more regulatory scrutiny by the regulators, whether it is India or whether it is abroad. There will be pricing pressures and excess pressures. They will continue, because this is a very complex area and we need to take the help of the government to make sure that the industry is supported to progress in future. You will see a shift happening from a treatment to prevention. A lot of preventive strategies will come more and more in future. There'll be arrival of more diagnostic to personalized therapies, new players in vaccines and biologics, and also more healthcare spending by the government, which we are waiting from the last few years, and greater international and regulatory cooperation, which has already started happening even in India. We have seen under the regulatory agency here in India that the cooperation with the other regulatory agencies across the board has increased. And I would forecast more expansion of biotech, biopharma, biosimilars in the market in future. So that's the thing. I see what is happening in the last few years in India, and what is going to happen in the next 10 years. We have seen the data for the last 20 years or even beyond. We have moved from a very simple classical pharma manufacturing to a world-class state-of-art facilities in India. Not only facilities, but a very good administration, able leadership as far as the government administration for Food and Drug Administration is concerned. I see more and more happening in future in India in this area too. Thank you very much for this patient listening. And I see, though there is some kind of a time lapse, but probably I think I try to do my best, whatever I could during this time. Thank you so much for patient listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for elaborating for forwarding your thoughts on the entire industry and the future of the industry. And now I leave the floor for the question and answer, and I request all the audience to put your questions in Q&A tab, or you could also raise your hands to have your questions.
Lakshmi, stop sharing that slide.
Sir, there are a few questions in the Q&A. Should I take up those questions? There is a question from Mr. Ganesh Chavan. What is the status of the DMF and ANDA filing of Indian pharmaceutical industry?
So, as I was saying, if you see the progress which is made about the number of products which are approved, this is substantially increased. This is substantially increased as far as the drug master files and ANDA is concerned. The number of approvals today for Indian pharmaceutical industry are much higher as compared to what we had seen even 20 years back. Today, as I said, more than 700 facilities. Just about 10 years back, there were around 300 facilities which were approved by the stringent regulatory bodies. That shows the kind of technology, the knowledge, the skills, and the kind of a knowledge in the form of ANDAs and drug master files is increasing very rapidly in the last 20 years and is set to grow further, approximately 15 to 20% growth in the next 10 years, which is a very large as compared to the global industry.
Thank you, sir. And just to add to your point, as per the statistical evaluation of our team, we could see that there are about 4,200 ANDA approved for the Indian pharmaceutical industry until December 2020. There are hand raises from a couple of the audience. I allow them to speak, sir. Mr. Om Prakash Sadhwani ji, we have made you to speak, sir. And we'll wrap it up.
Please,
Sadhwani ji.
hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Sir, namaskar, this is Sadhwani. Please elaborate how can we penetrate Japan market and what industry should do to immediately get some share in Japan?
Yeah, very important, very good question. In fact, if you see from Indian pharmaceutical industry, there have been a number of attempts which have been made right from 2002 onwards till 2019 to grow in that market. And approximately, as I know, around 10 pharmaceutical companies from India, they started opening their offices 20 years back and be in the market, and they wanted to have a collaboration with the Japanese companies. But what is different in Japan? In Japan, the patient is, they used to say that the patient is a king. I say the patient is a god in Japan. And that's what the difference is there between the other markets of the world and Japan. Japanese market is very, very quality conscious, extremely quality conscious. That not only, if you see from the complexity which is there in the pharmaceutical industry, especially APIs are concerned, the market demands 1/10 of the ICH impurity levels, which is very, very stringent. Not even used, not even asked by the companies in the US or Europe. The most important difference is not only in the chemical part of the quality, but also the cosmetic quality. And in Japan is the only country where equal weightage is given to cosmetic quality and equal weightage is given to the chemical quality. If you look at the cosmetic quality, what it means is the number of particles, extraneous contamination, black particles, fibers, human hair, they are treated as critical defects. These are not treated as critical defects in many parts of the world. But in Japan, if you find an API with a human hair, which is coming from the eye, which is from the eyelashes or something like that, it is considered to be highly contaminated. If you have a black spot, it is considered as material which is not fit for pharmaceutical consumption. If you have a tablet which has a black spot of 50 micron in size or more, it is considered as a contamination. That means the product needs to be returned back as a recall. If you see a hair of any kind, it is considered as a material not fit for consumption. And mostly when they get a hair, they will start giving you a feeling that probably the future is very uncertain, and the future, unless a drastic action is taken by the company, the future business will not be started. That is the reason that today we are less than 1% in the Japanese pharmaceutical market. and more than 30% in the US or Europe markets. So the patient is more demanding. That's the only country in the world where a grandmother or a grandfather of more than 80 years would open up laser scanner and would check the tablet from all the sides before ingesting. Whether it's a tablet or a capsule, forget about injectables. Even the tablet and capsule, from outer packaging to the inner core tablet, are considered, it must be cosmetically also perfect. If there's a cosmetic defect, that means there may be any other kind of a defect in the tablet also. That means a chemical defect or a physical defect or any other defect. That's the reason, because of so much stringent regulations. I still feel stringent requirements by the companies can be met. It is a matter of time, and companies need to be very patient in that market, but they need not withdraw from the market. I have seen a withdrawal from the market by around 10 companies from 2000 to 2019, very big names, even who had offices in Japan. They came back saying that this is not our cup of tea. We don't want to be in that market. But I think we should not get discouraged with this. There is a way, and I think I was in that market for more than 13 years, and I saw, and our people learned that over a period of time. If we can learn, the industry can learn, and I feel that we can make a change in this market, because the future is a lot of potential is there in this market.
Which is the country, which country is enjoying highest share in Japanese market other than Japan?
Other than Japan, Korea and China.
Thank you, sir. Now may I invite Mr. Harish Chain, who has raised his hand. We have allowed you to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lamba. I think one of the important points what you made, as far as the growth drivers for the pharmaceutical industry is concerned, is not only the existing market, but then you're also getting into newer markets like China, Japan, and all that. Now, I would like to specifically ask the question on Argentina. Now, Argentina, what I'm told is traditionally they discourage Indian products. So how do we get around the product countries similar Argentina and similar countries?
Yes, so it's a matter of a culture. I spoke to some of the representatives from this market, including Argentina, which is a part of the pharmaceutical emerging markets. I was saying around 17 countries in number. Even if Southeast Asian markets, for example, even Thailand or Malaysia, if you go, some of the doctors, when I wanted to bring a product from a Japanese facility to even the Malaysian and the Thailand markets, the people from there, they came back saying that our doctors are not accepting. And Argentina also exactly the same thing. When I interacted with somebody, they said our doctors are not accepting. And I asked, what is the reason why they are not accepting? And they said they cited reasons of data integrity issues. They cited reasons for CGMP failures. They cited reasons for manipulations. Just to give you an indication, Japan is again one country where if they face or they come to know that there is a data integrity issue, that people are not honest in their approach, they would not like to do business. So I think more is a cultural issue. Product quality is not to be blamed for. We need to really make the people understand through a lot of counseling, a lot of meetings, networking with them, that we are very competent, we are very quality conscious. Of course, there'll be some pockets where you will find suboptimal quality of our products, but not all. So we need to really work on the cultural side rather than more on the technical side in these areas.
So what do you think that a body like Pharmaxil should be working on this? What kind of approach we should have to penetrate markets like Argentina? Do we start with formulations or the APIs is the best the thrust area?
In general, I would say we need to work on both the sides, whether it is APIs or whether it is formulations. We need to start, of course, with a less risky approach of starting our API business into those countries like Argentina, but also start with the pharmaceutical formulations, because I think we need to really make sure the whole horizon is available for them. Of course, when you look at the Japanese market, I would suggest to start first for a few years, only intermediates and only APIs. you create your presence, you create your image, you create your loyalty, you create your trust first in these markets. And those markets which are not trying to take the products into those markets, I think we need to move very cautiously and not forcing, not pushing our products, but to really create a pull in these markets by creating more trust that our products are very not only high in quality, but they are affordable, so that people across the various layers of the strata of society can afford it.
I think that gives a quite a work to Pharma Excel to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. There are time permits. I could take a couple of questions from the chat box, sir. Because we are running late, almost 20 minutes past the scheduled time. So, can we take a couple of more questions, sir?
Uday Bhaskarji?
No, she's asking you, sir.
I'm available. I'm not.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you, sir. So there is a question from Dr. Vivian Prasad, sir, joint rights controller of CBSE board. The question is that in India, different regulators are there for the patents and different regulators for the drugs and cosmetics. The regulatory mechanism of the patenting system and the drug regulatory system are different. So do you feel the patents and the innovations should also come under the regulation of the BMC Act along with the patents of the drugs? Should I read the question again, sir?
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. I still feel that patenting is one area which is intellectual property, and there should be a separate mechanism to govern the patents, because it's like then doing too many things under the one umbrella, which may not be efficient, which may not be productive. Because if you see, the Drug Control Administration today has a mammoth task, because there was a time when we had a lot of focus on pharmaceuticals. Today, the medical devices, the nutraceuticals, the OTC products, the cosmetics, they are booming. And the next 10 years, they are going to really grow in the market at a very large speed. It will be very difficult to control such products if they're getting mushroom from various corners of the country. And also you will see a lot of products from overseas imported in the country. And these are mostly into the nutraceutical segment, because this market is going to be very big. IP, on the other side, is a very specialized area. Not that it cannot be managed, but I think more from giving a focus on the IP and patenting. Wherever an interface is required, the interface can be created between the Drug Control Administration and the IP administration, but it should not be under one umbrella, because then it will become more complicated, in my opinion.
Thanks for your thoughts on this, sir. So there are many of the students have also joined, and they would like to hear from you on the advice for their future course of programs or career.
So there is a question which says why India is not generating a new chemical entity. I think this is from Pooja Agarwal. This is a dream. Of course, in India, there are a couple of successes, but we are not generating really a blockbuster or a big new chemical entity. As I said, the cost of bringing a new drug to the market is around $2 billion. 14,000 crores is not a small amount. And this 14,000 crores, unless we become very big, if there is no price control on everything, if there is a resource available, if there are incentives available, if there are tax rebates available to the industry, probably we can really use this finance for bringing a new drug to the market. Not that we don't have a talent on this. We already have a process development talent. We don't have much drug discovery talent as on today, but this drug discovery talent is increasing. We find more and more people coming to India. But I think more than anything else, it is really the finance, the financial resources which are required for NCE to be launched in. It's not a question of discovery. Right from discovery, you have a clinical trial. From clinical trial, there's a large marketing gimmick which comes into play. And that whole part, which is approximately 10 years to 12 years, requires a huge number of resources, which are not available easily today to the Indian pharmaceutical industry. And that is the reason we are not generating an NC.
Thank you, sir. Sir, would you like to give some advice to the students who wanted to pursue their career in the next course of post-graduation or industry?
I think these are very subjective areas, because somebody saying I'm doing a PG ecology, pharmacology fresher, don't know which field is better in upcoming year in between IT or manufacturing. And of course, I would say, it's a personal choice. Nothing is bad. We are progressing in IT. We are progressing in manufacturing. You look at your passion and go by the passion. Don't go by what market is demanding. Some people make that mistake. What is the market going? We'll go. But we are not passionate. We are not very good. We may not be very good in a particular area where the market is demanding. So we need to look at what I need, what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and choose a field which you are passionate about. Many years back, I was passionate about industry. So I chose manufacturing as my main focus area. Where somebody told me that you go into research, I said, I don't have a patience to wait in research. So I want more and more. I want interaction with more people, which happens in manufacturing. So it's all your personal choice and passions.
True, sir. One should follow their passion that they excel in their career. Sir, of course, there are quite a few questions unanswered, but in view of the time constraint, we will call of the meeting. May I request our Honorary Director General, Mr. Uday Haskar, for the closing remarks?
So, thank you, Lakshmi, and thank you, Lansama and Sanjit Ji, for particularly the Sanjit Ji, for your comprehensive talk with a lot of statistics. And we are so happy. Just I would like for the information of Sanjit Ji and the audience. For some of our talks, we are giving access to the postgraduate and pharmacy students and industry also. So tomorrow belongs to them. So we should not deprive the student community and the heroes of tomorrow to have an access to these kind of talks. So tomorrow always you discussed about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Tomorrow always depends on not only on you. Tomorrow depends on your competitors also. If you want to continue or sustain the capabilities of Indian pharmaceutical industry, we need to address the points what you have rightly mentioned, that in the area of biologics, we are lagging behind, and the China and Korea and all these countries are moving ahead. Out of 25 billion exports and 50 billion Indian pharma market, we have only 170 million worth of biosimilars. At the same time, the complex generics. The other one you are talking about, the APIs. Tomorrow, even the government of India has announced the PLI 1, 2, and they also announced the policy for they're considering the policy about excipients. But if you're tomorrow also, if you depend on China and our neighbors on these APIs, intermediates, and basic chemicals, your tomorrow is not going to be that good. The yesterday what we enjoyed, particularly in the era of patents and the patent protection, now the countries like Bangladesh is enjoying the same facility as an LD. They have an LDC status. It will go up to 2032. They are going to be stiff contenders like that. Earlier in 1947, our pharma is only 10 crore rupees. In 1980, it was only 1,500 crores. Now you know that we have a very ambitious plans, and we surpassed so many countries who used to claim themselves as the giants of the pharma. Now we should not give an opportunity to others, in the sense we should not lag behind. Particularly, take for example the amendment of Schedule M. The government has announced the draft in 2019. Everywhere we are telling that, we are going to upgrade our manufacturing Schedule M to WHO level. But again, yesterday I saw one news that, they appointed a new committee. So what I strongly feel that, this is the time you need to run. Nobody is going to wait for you. That is very important. And at the same time, the R&D. If you see the R&D expenses, our almost is other countries are spending 10%, but we are not even spending 5%. So these are the areas if you neglect. So definitely our future is not going to be very bright. So let us work in that direction. And what I feel the presentation, what you have given is definitely it's going to help everyone to think in that direction. And again, coming back to our EDCOC activities, this EDCOC has completed 26 years. By October, we completed 1 year of this EDCOC Training Academy. Except those 2 months lockdown period, we are continuously working webinars on different subjects. We are thankful to all the knowledge, what they are disseminating to our members. The speakers, we have outstanding speakers. And the EDCOC has done one more, it has become a big nerve center, and it is like a lifeline. So now the Joint Drugs Controller of Mizoram, extreme corner of Eastern India, is talking to the people of North and talking to the people throughout the world. This is the platform what EDCOC has created, and certainly we wanted to take it forward, and we are ready to update the knowledge of our members. And for the information of Lal Samaji, they are more into the community pharmacy. And yesterday he was telling that, brother, we are not having any manufacturing units, particularly in the Northeast area, other than Sikkim and to some sort of Assam. Then I said, next 25th, we are going to have a talk on the consumer perspective, the role of regulators and empowering the consumer. That is going to be the talk on 25th. Dr. Bijan Mishra is a prominent consumer activist, is going to talk, and our friend and Commissioner FDA Gujarat, Dr. H.G. Koshia, is going to be the special guest. With this, I am very much thankful to Lal Sama and the Sanjit Singh and other Central Council members, and particularly to Lakshmi and his team for taking this EDCOC Training Academy sessions forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And with that, I formally call out the meeting. Once again, thanks to Dr. Lambaji and Lal Samaji and all the participants.
I would like to thank everyone, and I would like especially thank Uday Bhaskar Garu and Lal Samaji and Lakshmi to you for making it absolutely, what you say is fail-safe. What I talk about in industry, this program was organized fail-safe mechanism. Whether it is IT, it was absolutely smooth with no glitches. And I think you're setting up the tone for the new India for the next 10 years. And I would like to make sure that, I also would attend such kind of a programs. It's really very interesting. And especially, when I've seen the past, a lot of good programs have been organized. I missed few. I would like to attend that in the future. Thank you very much for inviting me today. And it's really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The program link and the presentation will be shared to all the members through email, the registered email, along with the feedback forms and the service. So with that, I thank everyone and have a good day.